Hi everyone, thank you for joining for the colloquium. Today I will present my PhD work on transmit antenna selection in underlay spectrum sharing systems, and I'll focus my talk mainly on studying the role of power adaptation, interference constraint, and channel state information on the selection rules. Firstly, the spectrum sharing is motivated by two timeless truths. First one, the demand for wireless data will always grow. The second, the spectrum needed to meet this demand is limited. For example, sub 6 GHz spectrum is already crowded with the existing technologies, and not enough spectrum is available for the new technologies. In this scenario, spectrum sharing enables the efficient reuse of the pre-allocated spectrum by these new technologies coming up. For example, even the spectrum regulators have accepted the need for spectrum sharing, and uh, spectrum regulators like FCC in USA have opened up 3.5 gigahertz band and 6 gigahertz bands for spectrum sharing, and many other bands are still under consideration. Now I'll move to the next slide. So among the spectrum sharing technologies, cognitive radio is one of the prominent technology considered for a long time. Here, a secondary system, which is a low priority user of the spectrum, shares spectrum with a high priority user. And most of the cases, like secondary system and primary system, operate independently in cognitive radio. However, recently, depending on the way primary and secondary coordinate and the primary system, different technologies like symbiotic radio, device to device communications, and cognitive radio inspired NOMA are also coming up as a part of spectrum sharing technologies. Now I'll move to the next slide. So spectrum sharing is being actively considered in the current wireless standards. IEEE 802.22 is a spectrum sharing standard that targets television bands. And the very recently standardized CBRS and multifier target the spectrum being used by radars and Wi-Fi users. And even the next generation standards like 5G NR unlicensed and 802.11be, which are being currently designed, are being designed to share spectrum with the satellite services. Hence, spectrum sharing is being very actively considered in the standards now. Now I'll move to the next slide. So here I'll discuss the different types of spectrum sharing. There are two important modes in spectrum sharing. One is opportunistic and the second one is underlay. In the opportunistic type of spectrum sharing, secondary transmits only when the high priority user is off. However, in the underlay mode, which is the focus of our thesis, like secondary transmits even when the primary is on, simultaneous transmission. Hence, the secondary transmissions will cause interference to the primary. For example, if the secondary transmitter transmits with a fixed power PT and channel power gain is G, primary receiver will experience an instantaneous interference of PT times G. And controlling this interference is a crucial thing in designing an underlay system. I'll move to the next slide now, where I'll discuss how to control this interference. So to limit the interference seen by the primary, different interference constraints have been considered. For example, peak interference constraint, which says the instantaneous interference PT times G should be below a interference threshold tau at every instant. This is a very strict constraint and also needs perfect channel state information at every instant. To relax this requirement, a generalized version of constraint called interference outage constraint is proposed. Basically, what it says is instantaneously interference can go above the threshold tau. However, the duration of the violation or the probability of the interference outage should be below a threshold Omax. These constraints protect the primary from the excessive interference, but at the same time, they degrade the performance of the secondary significantly. Now I'll move to the next slide. So to recover this performance loss of a secondary system, we investigate transmit antenna selection. So what is transmit antenna selection? Here, a transmitter is equipped with multiple antennas similar to a MIMO system. However, it has only one radio frequency chain. It is dynamically switched to one of the antennas depending on the channel conditions. Hence, transmit antenna selection is a low hardware complexity multiple antenna technique. However, with less hardware, but it is shown to achieve full diversity of the multiple antennas with a single RF chain or the radio frequency chain. With this, I'll move to the next slide where I'll discuss how this transmit antenna selection is different in an underlay scenario. So suppose in an unconstrained system where interference constraint is not present, a secondary air transmitter would select an antenna with the highest channel power gain to its receiver. However, if such a rule is employed in an underlay scenario, it can cause excessive interference to the primary receiver. Hence, the conventional selection rules designed cannot be applied to underlay system directly. Thus, we need to redesign the selection rules which give optimal performance for an underlay spectrum sharing scenario. This is the motivation for our work. So with this, I'll go to the next slide and discuss our goal. So our main goal is to develop optimal transmit antenna selection rules for an underlay spectrum sharing system, and with the goal of studying the role of power adaptation, interference constraint, and channel state information on these optimal rules. With this, in the next slide, I'll discuss the contributions we have made in a very brief manner. So for the underlay spectrum sharing scenario, we have proposed several novel and similar probability optimal transmit antenna selection rules. We have also proposed several simpler and near optimal variants of these optimal rules, and we have also analyzed their performance. So with this introduction, I'll move to the system model of my problem. Basically, our system model consists of a secondary transmitter with NT antennas and one radio frequency chain communicating to a secondary receiver with NR antennas, and it interferes with one primary receiver. The channel power gains between secondary transmitter and secondary receiver are denoted by letter H, and the channel power gains from secondary transmitter to the primary receiver are denoted by letter G, and both with their corresponding antenna indices. In all entire thesis, we assume that secondary transmitter always knows the instantaneous channel power gains to the secondary receiver, that is denoted by letter H. For this basic system model, I'll move to the next slide and discuss the different combinations of power adaptation and channel state information we consider. So to study the role of power adaptation, we have considered on-off power adaptation and continuous power adaptation at the secondary transmitter. In on-off power adaptation, secondary transmitter will either transmit with a fixed power PT in the on state, or it will transmit with a zero power in the off state. This has advantages in terms of circuit design, where the power amplifier and other circuit elements have to be designed just for one power level. Moving to the continuous power adaptation, here secondary transmitter can vary its power in a continuous manner. It basically utilizes the available channel state information in a better way and gives a much better performance. Moving to the channel state information of secondary transmitter to the primary receiver G, we have considered different amounts of channel state information available, like instantaneous, or only the statistical information is available, or a combination of it, which we will refer to as a partial channel state information model. So for this different power adaptation and channel state information available, I'll go to the next slide where I'll discuss the different combinations of these power adaptation and channel state information, which I'll discuss in the rest of the talk. So this can be seen as an outline for my talk, which has 4 parts, where you discuss different combinations, as I already told. First, I'll start with the on-off power adaptation with the instantaneous CSI case. Moving to the next slide. So in this first case, secondary transmitter employs an on-off power adaptation, and it knows the instantaneous channel power gains from secondary transmitter to the primary receiver, that is G. Phi denotes the selection rule. Basically, it takes the channel state information H and G as input and outputs an antenna index S. This selected antenna index S can take values from 0 to NT, where S equal to 0 represents the off state of the power adaptation or 0 transmit power case, and 1 to NT correspond to the antenna index selected. So this selection by selection rule phi has to be done in such a way that interference outage probability is below the threshold Omax. So this is the system model for our on-off power adaptation with instantaneous CSI case. I'll move to the next slide where I would introduce our problem statement. Symbol error probability as a function of secondary channel power gain is given by this formula, which is an exponentially decreasing function of transmit power and also parameterized by C1 and C2, which depend on the modulation being used. So our problem can be written as the following stochastic optimization problem with a goal of developing an optimal selection rule phi star that minimizes average symbol error probability while meeting the interference outage constraint. This is our problem, and in the rest of slides, in the next few slides, I'll develop an optimal solution for this problem. Moving to the next slide. So before proposing the optimal rule, let me discuss as another selection rule called unconstrained rule. Basically, it selects an antenna with the highest channel power gain from secondary transmitter to the secondary receiver without considering primary receiver at all. So let U denotes its interference outage probability. So now two cases arise. First one, when the Omax, the maximum allowed interference outage probability is greater than U. In this case, the unconstrained rule satisfies the interference outage constraint. Hence, it will be the optimal rule to select. However, the interesting case is the case 2, when Omax is less than U, is the constrained case where unconstrained rule cannot satisfy the constraint, and we need an optimal rule for this scenario. So for this constrained case, I propose the following selection rule, and which I'll prove to be optimal in the next slides. So it basically selects an antenna whichever has this quantity minimum. I'll refer this inside this braces the quantity as a selection metric of each antenna K. Basically, it has symbol error probability as its first term, and the second term is an indicator function which takes either 1 or 0 and scaled by a parameter lambda, which is chosen such that interference constraint is met with equality. Now I'll move to the next slide. Here, before proving that the proposed S star is optimal, I would like to show you a 3D view of the selection metric. So we clearly see that it's an exponentially decreasing function in terms of HK, that is secondary channel power gain, and also a discontinuous function in terms of GK, the interference channel power gain. So now I'll move to the next slide and prove that this S star is actually indeed the optimal solution for the problem I posed earlier. So to do that, let me consider any other selection rule phi which selects an antenna S and also satisfies the interference outage constraint. However, by definition of S star, which I am trying to prove to be optimal, selects an antenna with this whichever minimizes this selection metric instantaneously. Thus, it will minimize its fading averaged quantity as well. Thus, the inequality here follows, which basically says the fading average quantity of selection metric with S star will be smaller than fading average quantity of any other selection rule S, that is by the construction of S star. Now, using the fact that expectation of indicator is equal to probability of that event and rearranging the terms, we get the below inequality. Here, as I discussed when I proposed the selection rule, the lambda greater than 0 is chosen such that its interference outage probability is equal to Omax. So I can substitute this quantity here, which will result in this inequality where we see that the term here is always less than or equal to 0. That is because the optimal the selection rule phi satisfies the interference constraint. Hence, this inequality here in a plain English, like it says, average similar error probability of S star is less than or equal to average SCP of S minus a positive quantity, which will also imply another inequality, which says average SCP of S star is less than or equal to average SCP of any other selection rule. Thus, and S star satisfies the interference constraint. Thus, S star is the optimal selection rule to employ. And this completes the proof of the optimality of the proposed selection rule. However, the proof is under the condition there is a lambda star greater than 0 that can be chosen such that interference outage constraint is met with equality. So how can we show that such a lambda exists? So for that, we need to prove that this interference outage probability term is a continuous and monotonically decreasing function of lambda. So we have done this proof for a general setting for a general fading distribution with any continuous fading distributions, and the proof is quite involved, and I'll not discuss it here for with the interest of time. I'll move to the next slide now. So I have proposed an optimal selection rule S star, and now let me compare it with the other selection rules in the literature. So, for example, minimum interference rule tries to cause minimum interference to the primary receiver by selecting an antenna with the smallest GK. And it doesn't consider, try to harness the benefit of multiple antenna benefits of the secondary system. Similarly, MSLIR rule does it slightly different. It tries to select the antenna with the highest HK and small GK by considering ratio of HK and GK as a selection metric. Third rule, the difference selection rule, also tries to do a similar trade-off, but in a linear manner by selecting antenna with the highest weighted difference between HK and GK. If we note, like all these selection rules are either linear in terms of HK or continuous in terms of GK, which is different from the proposed selection rule, which we have seen it to be non-linear in HK and discontinuous in GK. Now I'll move to the next slide, where I'll compare the performance of the optimal selection rule with the other three selection rules proposed in the literature. So the plot here shows average simple error probability as a function of interference power threshold tau for 4 antennas, and when the outage probability is 0.1. Here, the blue curve corresponds to the performance of the optimal rule. To understand its behavior, let us study the constrained region and unconstrained region separately. In the constrained region, we see average SCP decreases with increase in tau. That is because the threshold in the constraint is being relaxed. We also see it significantly performs better than other selection rules, even up to an order of 2 orders of magnitude improvement with some selection rules. Moving to the unconstrained region, here both optimal rule and difference selection rule become threshold tau. Hence, the SCP saturates. So this is the performance of the optimal rule comparison with other selection rules. I'll move to the next slide. Here, I have shown the interference outage probability expression and average simple error probability expression of the optimal rule derived. And these expressions apply to a general fading distribution and can be made specific by substituting the cumulative complementary CDFs of different fading models. The derivations of these expressions are long and involved, and I'll not get into those details. And also for the remaining sections of my talk, I'll not display the expressions as they're more involved. So with this a brief glimpse on the analytical expressions, I'll conclude this section. So basically in the first section, I proposed a optimal selection rule which minimized the symbol error probability and was different compared to the existing selection rules. We have also seen that it gave a significant performance gain compared to the selection rules in the literature. On the last slide, I have shown the general expressions for average SCP and interference outage probability. Also done and not discussed here are like we have also studied the impact of imperfect CSA on the optimal rule. With this, I'll move to the next section of my talk, the second section, where I will again consider on-off power adaptation with partial CSI model. I'll discuss about this partial CSI model briefly in the next slide. So here we extend our model to consider multiple primary receivers. However, this extension brings in several challenges in terms of implementation. Basically, as the number of primaries increase, channel estimation overhead of the primary links at the secondary transmitter increase, and also the wait time secondary transmitter to listen to the primary receivers. So it delays the decision taking of the secondary transmitter. So to avoid or overcome this problem, we propose partial channel state information model where secondary transmitter can select an antenna when it knows a subset of channel power gains to primary receivers itself. It need not know all the instantaneous channels. However, we assume that it knows channel statistics of all the primary receivers. So with this explanation about partial CSI, I'll move to the next slide where I show our constraint and optimal rule. This generalization not only made us come up with another CSI model, it also made us to extend our constraint. So basically here we consider the instantaneous interference exceeding the threshold at any of the primary receivers as the interference outage, and we constrain its probability to be below Omax. So I'll not derive the optimal rule again in this case, but I'll directly show the final result and give an insights about it. So the first term, the optimal rule is shown here. The first term again is similar to the single primary receiver case. But however, in the second term, we see an indicator function with channel power gains of all the primaries whose instantaneous CSI is known. They are basically checked to be below a threshold tau by PT. And for, what about the other primaries whose CSI is not known? They are taken care by this parameter alpha k. What is alpha k? So basically alpha k is the probability of all these channel power gains which are not known to secondary transmitter exceed the threshold tau by PT. Thus, the statistics of all the channel gains which are not known are considered by the optimal rule to take a decision when there is only a partial CSI available. So this is about the optimal rule in the multiple primaries case. I'll just show one plot here. So the plot here shows average symbol error probability as a function of interference threshold tau of the secondary system in the presence of two primary receivers. The green curve shows the performance of secondary when it knows the channel information to both the primaries, and the blue corresponds to the scenario when it knows channels to only one of the primary, and red corresponds to scenario when it does not know channels to any of the primaries. So we clearly see that even by losing channel information of one primary receiver degrades the performance significantly. Thus, the availability of channel information at the secondary transmitter plays a crucial role on the secondary performance. We also see that both blue and red curves are insensitive to the threshold tau when for smaller values of tau. With this, I'll move to the next slide and conclude this section. So basically in the second section, I have proposed a symbol error probability optimal rule for a generalized model with multiple primary receivers, a partial CSI model, and a general interference constraint. We have also seen that availability of secondary transmitter to primary receiver CSI plays a crucial role on the and determines the performance of the secondary system. Also done and not discussed here are like analysis of symbol error probability and interference outage probability for the derived optimal rule. And we have also done a detailed study of the extreme cases of like when the full CSI is available and no CSI is available. With this, I'll move to the next slide where I'll introduce the third section of my talk. Here, I'll be transitioning from on-off power adaptation to continuous power adaptation, and again with instantaneous CSI. So here, the secondary transmitter varies its power in a continuous manner and knows the instantaneous channel information from itself to a single primary receiver. However, the selection rule 5 here takes in the channel state information available and outputs an antenna index S and also a transmit power PS, an additional parameter to be outputted by this selection rule, different from the on-off scenario. It has to output PS in such a way that it is smaller than a maximum transmit power allowed, in addition to the interference outage constraint which we have already seen. So this is the model for this continuous power adaptation with instantaneous CSI case. I'll move to the next slide and give the a view about jointly optimal selection rule, that is both optimal antenna and optimal transmit power to transmit. So before doing that, similar to on-off scenario, let me discuss first the unconstrained rule in this case. Here, the unconstrained rule again would select an antenna with highest channel power gain from secondary transmitter to the secondary receiver and transmit with a power Pmax. That's like maximum power allowed. Again, here we'll look at both unconstrained case and constrained case. In the unconstrained case, that is when Omax is greater than or equal to U, the interference outage probability of the unconstrained rule satisfies the constraint because it is less than Omax. Hence, it is the optimal rule. However, in the interesting case, that is a constrained case, the Omax less than U, unconstrained rule cannot be employed as it violates the constraint. For this, let me show an intermediate result of the optimal rule, which has a similar form as what we have seen in the previous two sections. However, the selection metric here is function of channel power and transmit power, which is different from on-off scenario where selection metric was only a function of channel powers. So here the joint optimization of an antenna index and transmit power is done to select optimal antenna S star and optimal transmit power PS star. Proving this selection metric to be optimal is similar to on-off scenario, and I'll not repeat the proof again. However, the most challenging thing here is to show that there exists a lambda such that interference outage probability is equal to Omax. Due to additional complexity in the selection metric and the structure, this proof gets very involved and difficult to prove compared to the on-off scenario. With this, before giving the final structure of the optimal rule, let me derive optimal transmit power for each antenna K. Let Pk denote the optimal transmit power for each antenna K. So basically, it minimizes the selection metric having this form. As a function of transmit power P, it is a exponentially decreasing function till the parameter when the power reaches tau by Gk. That is because the indicator function here is 0 till then. But at tau by Gk, it increases by a factor lambda and then again decreases. That is because indicator becomes 1 after that. Here, two cases arise. The case 1, when Pmax is less than or equal to tau by Gk. In this, from this picture, we clearly see the optimal transmit power would be Pmax itself. However, in the other case, Optimal transmit power can take either tau by gk or Pmax, depending on the value of the selection metric at these 2 points. So the slide here shows the combined expression of optimal power Pk, basically combination of both the cases I discussed in the previous slide. The 3D plot here shows the behavior of Pk as a function of secondary channel power gain Hk in this direction and interference channel power gain Gk in this direction. We see that for small values of interference channel power Gk, it transmits with the maximum power as the interference will not be excessive. But as the Gk increases, it decreases its transmit power. That's the 2 by Gk region. However, an interesting thing happens for large Gk, where it again jumps back to the Pmax value. This is different from the other interference constraints, optimal powers derived for other interference constraints, and is mainly because of the structure of the interference outage constraint, which basically limits the duration of the violation rather than the amount of violation. And similarly, if we see the behavior as a function of Hk, secondary channel power gain Hk, for small values of Gk, we see that it is completely independent of it. However, for large values of Gk, it takes tau by Gk for small Hk and also for large Hk, and it is equal to Pmax in the middle. This happens mainly because of the inequality that is here, which gets satisfied for both small Hk and large Hk, where the power becomes tau by Gk. So this is the structure of the optimal power. I'll move to the next slide. Here I would like to give an implementation of the optimal joint optimal selection rule using the optimal power Pk derived in the last 2 slides. So this is the joint optimization, the intermediate result I have shown earlier. Using this and the optimal power Pk, optimal rule can be implemented in following 3 steps. Step 1, first compute optimal power Pk of each antenna k using this formula, and then move to the step 2, where substitute this Pk in the selection metric and select an antenna whichever has the smallest metric, that will be the optimal antenna S star. And in step 3, transmit with the optimal power PS star corresponding to the antenna selected S star. So this is the implementation or the final structure of the optimal selection rule, which jointly selects S star and transmit power PS. So now I'll discuss another selection rule, a slightly simpler variant of the optimal rule. To introduce that simpler variant, I would like to move to a 2D view from the 3D view. So basically the plot on the right shows the 2D projection of the 3D view here with Gk varying on y-axis and Hk varying on x-axis. The Pmax region here corresponds to green region here, and this tau by Gk corresponds to white region, and this Pmax here corresponds to the red region shown here. I'll move to the next slide now. So now I'll use this 2D geometric characterization of the optimal rule to propose a linear rule. So basically the equation here shows the boundary between the red and white regions, which is quite involved because of this an exponential function inside a logarithmic function, and the boundary becomes very non-linear and makes it difficult to implement the selection rule and also even to analyze its performance. So to simplify, what we did is we dropped this exponential term inside the logarithm, which simplifies the boundary to be a linear curve, linear straight line passing through origin with the slope here. So now this modified rule or the linear rule transmits with the transmit power P, tau by Gk only in this white region and Pmax everywhere else. Thus, this simplifies the implementation of the selection rule, and basically what it does, it computes PK according to this modified decision regions, then substitutes it again in the selection metric, computes the optimal antenna, and transmit it with its corresponding transmit power. So this is a modified linear rule. I'll move to the next slide and show you the performance comparison of these proposed rules. Here the plot shows average symbol error probability as a function of signal to noise ratio for a different selection rules for the 4 antennas, and when outage allowed is 1%. Here the black dash curve corresponds to the scenario when there is no interference constraint, and the circles represent the linear rule. We see that its performance matches very close to the optimal rule shown in blue curve. This is mainly because of the careful construction of the linear rule using the geometric interpretation or geometric characterization of the optimal rule. We also see that the optimal rule and the linear rule perform significantly better than the other selection rules like minimum interference rule shown in red and the ratio rule shown in green. So we get a significant performance improvement by both the proposed rules, even the optimal rule and a simplified linear rule. With this, I'll conclude this section, the third section.
Ranat, question.
Okay.
Yeah, does the linear rule also satisfy your Omax constraint?
Yes, sir. So when after I modify the parameter lambda here is chosen such that linear rule also meets the interference outage probability to be Omax, which is 0.01 in this case.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically all the selection rules here meet the same Omax 0.01. So to have a fair comparison. So to conclude this section, we proposed a joint optimal antenna selection and power adaptation rule that is was discontinuous in terms of both HK and GK, different from the on-off scenario. We have also proposed a simpler yet a near optimal variant called linear rule and derived its analytical expressions for average SCP and interference outage, which have not shown here. With this, I'll move to the last section of my talk. Here, the secondary transmitter again varies its power continuously, but however, it only has the channel statistics of the link from secondary transmitter to the primary receiver. For example, it only knows like average channel power gain instead of instantaneous channel power gain. This assumption is very appealing and practical as the channel statistics vary much slowly and are easier to obtain compared to the instantaneous channel information. This is a very helpful in the case when there is not much coordination between primary and secondary. Here again, secondary transmitter has to meet the peak transmit power constraint in addition to a general constraint called stochastic interference constraint, which I will explain in detail in the next slide. So we have already seen the interference outage constraint, which basically limits the probability of interference outage event to be below a threshold. And in the literature, there is also another constraint called average interference constraint, which basically limits the fading averaged value of the interference to be below the threshold tau. Both these constraints basically limit a statistical measure of the interference power rather than an instantaneous interference. So these kind of constraints can be categorized into a class called stochastic interference constraints. And in the scenario like here, where we only have statistical information about secondary transmitter to primary receiver link, they can be written in a general form like this, which is nothing but an expectation of a cost function to be should be below a threshold GT, where this cost function is a function of transmit power PS and depends on the constraint. For example, I have shown the cost functions for these two constraints here. In the case of interference outage constraint, it basically is a function of transmit power and also fading distribution. However, in case of average interference constraint, it is just a product of transmit power and average channel power gain. So these constraints are different from instantaneous constraints, which limit the instantaneous interference. And these have advantages in terms of these can handle either imperfect channel information or even outdated channel information. So the results which I'll show for the rest of this section will apply to any class of any interference constraint that belongs to this class and can be obtained by substituting the corresponding cost function. I'll move to the next slide. Here, again, I would like to show you the intermediate result of an optimal rule for the statistical CSI scenario. Again, it has a similar structure as earlier what we have seen, but however, the second term is now the cost function of the interference constraint, which changes as the constraint changes. And the scaling parameter lambda is again chosen such that constraint is met with equality. In this case, the final structure or the final optimal rule has a very simple and separable form. So optimal antenna S star is nothing but the antenna with the highest channel power gain from secondary transmitter to the secondary receiver, that is HK. Once S star is computed, we can substitute that in the selection metric of the antenna and compute its transmit power PS star. So basically, this is different from the instantaneous CSI case where we have seen S star and PS star cannot be computed in a separable form like this. And we also see here the S star, the optimal antenna, does not depend on the interference constraint at all. However, only the transmit power, optimal transmit power, depends on the interference constraint through this cost function C of P. With this, I'll move to the next slide, where I'll characterize this optimal power as a function of the constraint. I have shown for average and interference outage constraints. So basically, by substituting the cost function of average interference constraint here, we can obtain a simple closed form expression for the optimal power PS star. It only depends on the channel statistics of the secondary transmitter to primary link through μ. However, moving to the interference outage case, here optimal transmit power is the quantity which minimizes this function in the range 0 to P max. So what we see here is this function has to be numerically computed. The optimal power has to be numerically computed for every HS star. And it also depends on the fading distribution, unlike the average case where it only depended on the statistics. So to simplify this numerical computation for every instant, we have also considered another alternate design where we came up with a cost function which is proportional to the logarithmic function of the transmit power and scaled appropriately to mimic the behavior of the cost function here. So what is the advantage of here? Here, this makes the solution of this equation very simple, which takes either transmit power to be max power, P max, or a value which is inversely proportional to the HS star. We have shown that even choosing an alternate design like this does not degrade the secondary performance significantly, but simplifies the implementation very much. So I'll not get into the details of this part now. I'll move to the next slide. So in the next 3 slides, I'll show some interesting results. So here I would like to study the impact of power adaptation on the performance of the secondary system with when it has only statistical channel information. So the blue curve correspond to continuous power. The green one shows the scenario when secondary transmitter just transmits with a fixed power, does not adapt its power as a function of any channels. It just transmits with fixed power. And the red curves corresponds to the on-off scenario which I have already discussed earlier. So what we clearly see here is continuous power adaptation does better than other two schemes, and also the performance gain improves as the number of antennas NT and NR increase. However, we don't see that benefit of multiple antennas in the case of on-off power adaptation scenario, which says that like with statistical CSI, on-off power adaptation is not the right choice to go with. This is about the impact of power adaptation. I'll move to the next slide. Here, I would like to study the impact of interference constraint on both primary system and secondary system. So here I again considered average constraint, which is shown in red color, and interference outage constraint whose plot curves are shown in blue color. The plot on the left corresponds to secondary performance and the plot on the right corresponds to primary performance. So the black curve here shows the performance of the primary system when there is no interference from the secondary system. So we see that clearly the performance degrades as the secondary causes interference to it. And we also see as the Omax increases, the degradation increases. And as expected, like secondary performance improves significantly as Omax increases. However, what we see from this is like for the same thresholds, like tau, the different constraints impact the performance of secondary and primary differently. Hence, the choice of right constraint and their corresponding parameters plays a crucial role in that determines the performance of both the systems. With this, I'll move to the last plot of my talk. So here, I would like to study the impact of multiple antennas at the secondary system on both secondary and primary systems as done in the last slide. So the red curve corresponds to when the secondary system has 2x2 configuration, and the blue with marker corresponds to 3x3 scenario. As expected, the secondary performance improves as the number of antennas increase. But an interesting thing is like the primary degradation is same for both the scenarios. This is because in both the configurations, though we have increased the number of antennas, the interference threshold which we met is still the same. As the average interference seen by the primary receiver is same, the performance degradation remains same. Thus, these two plots say that as the number of antennas increase, secondary performance improves without any further degradation in the primary performance. So with this, I would like to move to the next slide and conclude this last section of my talk, which is the continuous power adaptation with the statistical CSI. So here we have developed an optimal antenna selection and power adaptation rule for a scenario with statistical CSI, and the derived rule applies to a general class of stochastic interference constraints, unlike a single constraint. And we have also seen that it has a nice, simple and separable form. And in the end, in the last 3 slides, we have studied the impact of power adaptation, interference constraint, and multiple antennas on both secondary and primary systems. So this concludes the last section of my talk, and I would like to go to the conclusions for the full talk. So what we have done, developed optimal selection rules for underlay spectrum sharing scenario, and we have seen that the optimal rule very much depends on the power adaptation technique employed, whether secondary transmitter does an on-off power adaptation or continuous power adaptation. It also depends on the interference constraint and its nature and the structure, whether it is an average interference constraint or an interference outage constraint. We have seen that the structure of the constraint changes the form of the selection rule completely. And we have also seen the role of channel state information on optimal rules, whether the instantaneous CSI is available or the statistical CSI is available determines the optimal antenna and the optimal power. And we have, in case of multiple primaries, we have also seen how a partial channel state information impacts the optimal power. So finally, we have also seen that in all the cases, the optimal rule perform significantly better than the ad hoc rules in the literature. In some cases, we have even seen 1 to 2 orders of reduction in the average SEP compared to the ad hoc rules in the literature. So designing and employing optimal rules improve the performance significantly. That is one more key takeaway from our work. So with this, I'll conclude the talk just by showing our publications in the last slide. So this is a list of publications that are part of the thesis. So basically the journals listed here correspond to each of the sections I have discussed till now. And these are the conference publications. And I would be happy to take any questions.